This is Module 6, Lesson 5. This is Concept Development, and you're going to need your problem set page, and you're going to turn it over to the back because we're going to use these two systems in coordinate systems or coordinate grids in order to go through the concept development. I've already labeled my X and Y axes. Now, I am going to play around with the way I'm saying the way I'm calling out the coordinates, the way I'm calling out the coordinates on the grid. So if I say I'm going to plot this point H, which is 3 units from the x-axis, so 3 units away from the x-axis, but 4 units from the y-axis. So 3 units from here, 4 units from here. So that is my X, that is my point H. So it's really 4, 3, and that's what my coordinate pair looks like. So let's just play around with that idea for a little bit so that you're used to hearing that terminology as well. All right, now we're going to plot another point, letter I, and we're going to go 3 units from X, 1, 2, 3, and 10 units from Y. And I'm going to call that I. So it's 10, 3, 10, 3. Now, I'm going to call out one more letter, and I'm going to say it like this. It is 3 units from X and 8 units from Y. 6, 7, 8. So 3 units from X, 8 units from Y. I'm going to call that J. So it's 8 and 3. It's just another way of stating what we know is go over 5. Go over 4 up 3, go over 8 up 3, go over 10 up 3. But you could also say it's that many units from X, that many units from Y. All right, so now from here, what do you notice about these 3 points and their coordinates? What do you notice about them? Well, hopefully you notice that they have different X coordinates, but their Y coordinates are all 3s. So all the points are the same distance away from the x-axis. Now, I'm going to use this straight edge to draw a line across and connect. I'm going to connect those points. Okay, now, so we just drew a line and it went through H, I, J, and we're going to label this now. We're going to label this W, like a fancy W. What do you notice about line W? What do you notice about the line? Well, it's straight. It goes from left to right across the page. It's a horizontal line. It's almost like another x-axis, except it's been shifted up by 3. Now, question, does line W ever intersect the x-axis? No. Finish my sentence though. Line W is parallel to the x-axis. Does line W, will it ever intersect the y-axis? Yes. To intersect the y-axis, it would be 0, 3. That would be the intersection. That would be where that line intersects. What kind of angle is formed at the intersection of line W and the x-axis? So what kind of line is formed? What kind of angle is formed? A 90-degree angle, right? So these lines would be considered perpendicular. So I actually see two 90-degree angles. I see one on this side and one on this side when they intersected. When x and y axis meet, it makes a right angle. And since W is parallel to the x axis, it also makes a right angle. What is the name for intersecting lines that form right angles? So what is that called when two lines intersect? What are those called again? You're right, perpendicular. Perpendicular lines, right, intersect. All right, so line W is perpendicular to the y-axis. So let's plot points K and L so that they are on line W. So what could we say? We want to add K and L and we want them to sit on line W. What would you say for sure would have to happen? What do you know for sure? Well, we know that the y coordinate point would have to be 3 if it's going to sit on that line, correct? So the y coordinate doesn't change for any of the points on the line. No matter what the x coordinate is, the y coordinate has to stay the same. So the coordinates of two other points would fall, if they were to fall on line W, whose x coordinates are greater, could something fit past 10? Could 12? Could you actually see them on this part? Well, we could if we extended the x-axis a little bit farther, right? If let's say we wanted to put 12 on there, we would just have to extend our x-axis to include 12. With the point with coordinates 15.5 by 3 fall on line W. Well, it would, because as long as there is a 3 in the y coordinate, it doesn't matter what the x coordinate is. If the y coordinate is 3, then the point will be on line W. Would the point with coordinates 3, 5 fall on line W? Would 3, 5 fall on line W? No, because it has a different y. So only points with a y coordinate of 3 are on line W. So let's create this. So let's say 6 and 3. We'll label that K. And then say, let's put 2 and 3, and we'll call that L. So this is 6, 3, and this is 2, 3. So if I said 12, 3, well, we have to extend the line, correct? All right. So let's say the coordinate for all our points will have to be, okay, what I want you to do right now, so all of this is connected on the same line. I want you to go ahead and I want you to plot a line where all the points fall on the same line. You're going to create a line that would be parallel to the x-axis. If it what if we wanted this line to be a greater distance from the x-axis than w? What would we need to think about? You would have to pick a y value that is more than 3, correct? You can use the same values, but our y values will have to be greater than w's. So if I said create another line that is parallel to w that is greater than. So what would yours look like? Where would you choose to have your y? Go ahead and do that right now. And then call that line Q. So you're going to make a Q and then make one more and call it P. And then write down your coordinates for each one. So I'm going to let you work on that for a minute and then come back after you have completed that exercise. So you're drawing another line that's parallel to W. You're drawing 2 more. You're going to label them with different letters, and you're going to call one Q and one P. And then why don't you go ahead and write their ordered pairs next to their lines as well. Okay, moving on. Let's look at our coordinate grid B. Now let's look at our chart here. Here's point D, E, F. Notice the X's. What do you notice about the X coordinates? They're all the same number, right? And then what about the Y coordinates? They are always changing. So the X coordinates are always the same. The Y's are always changing. So that is opposite to what was going here. So if the Y coordinate remaining the same, the line was parallel to the x-axis, what do you think is going to happen to this line here if the x's are all the same? If the y's are the same and it's horizontal, what do you think is going to happen with the x's? So this time the y coordinate is always changing, but the x coordinate stays the same. X is always 2.5. So imagine that we have plotted the points found in this chart and connected them to make a line. What do you predict that line will look like? Well, since the x coordinate is always 2.5, do you think the line will go straight up and down? Do you think it will be vertical that goes through 2.5 all the way? So what I want you to do is I want you to plot points D, E, and F, and then construct a line and label it M, which I want you to draw the line. I want you to connect those points and draw a line. And I want you to label that line M. Go ahead and do that and check back. Okay, so is this what you ended up with? Did you notice it is a vertical line and not a horizontal line? So now, if this line was parallel to the x-axis, line M is parallel to what axis? You're right, the y-axis. Whoops. So now this line is parallel to this axis. And when they connect, they form what? Perpendicular lines, right? So I have two perpendicular, I have one perpendicular line and I have two 90-degree angles, correct? So now I challenge you, create another vertical line and call that line N. So how are you going to change your coordinates? What are your coordinates going to look like? Then I want you to create one more and call it O. Same thing. Look at your coordinates. Notice the pattern that you're seeing. So for a horizontal line, the Y's remain the same. For the vertical, the X's remain the same. All right. I'm just going to walk through the problem set really quick. You're going to use the coordinate plane to the right to answer the following questions. You're going to follow directions here. What do the points of line E have in common? Give the coordinates of another point that would fall on line E. On the back, plot the following points on the coordinate plane to the right. Use a straight edge to draw a line to connect. The line H, X, the X coordinate is equal to what value? Circle the correct word. For each of the pair of points below, think about the line that joins them. For which pairs is the line parallel to the X? Circle the answer. Oh, without plotting them, and explain how you know. Then for number 4, for each pair of points below, think about the line that joins them. For which pairs is the line parallel to the y-axis? Circle your answers, then give 2 other coordinate pairs that would also fall on this line. Write the coordinate pairs of 3 points that would be that can be connected to construct a line that is 5.5 units to the right of and parallel to the y-axis. Write the coordinate pairs of the 3 points that lie on the x-axis. And then Adam and Janice are playing Battleship. Presented in the table is a record of Adam's guesses so far. He has hit Janice's battleship using these 3 coordinate pairs. What should his next guess be? How do you know? And explain. You can even draw a picture. Exit ticket and homework. So, good luck.